The entire town of Newcastle, Wyoming is under threat from a wildfire burning to the northwest of the city. The fire has now grown to more than 8,000 acres, and today the north winds blew the smoke and the fire toward the city once again. Black Hills Fox reporter Al Van Zee has the story.
Heavy smoke hung over Newcastle for most of the day as north winds pushed the fire and the smoke toward the south. On the streets of Newcastle, bits of ash from the fire drifted down now and then like flakes of snow. On the ridges on the outskirts of town, firefighters combed the woods and brushy areas, putting out every smoker and small fire they could find. Meanwhile, choppers flew load after load on the most active part of the fire line about 7 miles west of Newcastle. Today, the north winds bent the end of the westernmost limb of the fire back around toward the south, toward Highway 16. The fire has now jumped both Oil Creek Road and Plum Creek Road and is now extended for nearly 10 miles to the north and west of the city. The ranchers and rural residents up and down those roads have left voluntarily, while local firefighters are providing structure protection. Back in Newcastle, the dozer lines dug along the northwest edge of the city on Saturday night are still holding, say firefighters, but they can't be expected to hold under all circumstances.
We're as confident as we can be with the current weather conditions. But as you know, that wind can get gusty and it can be squirrely.
The fire had run up against those fire lines on Saturday night. There are 2 lines in some places. Firefighters say it's probably a switch in the winds along with those compound dozer lines that have saved the city so far.
So that's what we call a primary holding line. We've also developed contingency plans to support an operation if it does get beyond that line.
With that in mind, 20 families who were evacuated on Saturday night and Sunday are still being asked to not return to their homes. And the rest of the city is on alert to be prepared for an evacuation order if it becomes necessary. Firefighters say if the winds stay fairly moderate, they can keep this fire out of the city of Newcastle. But as time goes on, they're having more and more ground to cover. So as these fires get larger and the fire lines get longer, it increases the risk of reignition in what firefighters call a wind event. In Newcastle, Wyoming, Al Van Zee, Black Hills Fox News.
According to the latest news release from the fire management team, there is no estimate of containment on the Newcastle fire so far. They say the complex fire lines make it almost impossible to make an accurate estimate. There are 5 bulldozers, 6 water tenders, 4 helicopters, and an assortment of structure protection fire engines in use. 160 firefighters are working the fire, with more on the way.